Well, team. Welcome back to, of course, Start Swing Trading, where we take a look at all the swing trade setups out there. If you guys have a swing setup, make sure you guys throw it up in the chat. We'll make sure that we get to it. Welcome to the show. Excited to go ahead and get to my trades, of course. Then, of course, we'll have our guest today, 3:30. Christian Fromhertz is back, team. So smash a thumbs up if you guys are excited for that guest. Last time he gave us a great trade on Picard. Excited to hear what he's taking a look at today. Of course, he keeps up with a lot of relative strength. So we'll hear all about it. Christian Fromhertz from Tribeca Trading Group. Stick around for that. That's going to be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's get to the action. Let's take a look at what's moving out there. You guys got a stock that's moving? Definitely throw it up in the chat. Let's get to the action. Let's take a look at the SPY overall. How is that trading right now? Let's take a look here. SPY now starting to come down after a recent little rally up towards 399. I've talked about it. We're stuck in this range between 401 and 394 on the down end. Where are we going to go from here? Nobody knows. The only thing that we can do is just kind of continue to watch. You know, 400 was an area that I was expecting to see some defense from the bulls. We take a look at the daily levels, and you can see how we pulled back to those levels. And we haven't just had that ride back up, but we also haven't had that crash down through kind of the 390s. I think right now we're kind of in the chop land, right? And it seems like we've been playing chop consistently as of late. You guys can see it in the chop action on the SPY. We're range bound right now. Will we get above that range or below that range is very important, especially for the bulls and bear battle out there. But let's get to the stock action. Let's take a look at the trades that went well and the trades that didn't go well. Like always, full transparent. Let you guys know if I won or lost. We'll take a look here. First one we're going to take a look at is the one that we got stopped out today. A very small stop out on ADM through this 81. Now that it cracked this 81, you could maybe take a look at it even for the short side action. But you see how today, I didn't stick around after that 81 and just keep staying in the name down there to 79. I took the hit and got out of the name. Archer Daniel Midland. This is a farm product stock. They definitely took a hit today. So let's go ahead. Let's get out of the loser on the day, which is this Archer Daniel Midland. And let's go to a winner. Yes, chicken dinner, baby. Let's get to it. Steel right here, U.S. Steel was one that we traded just yesterday. Started swinging this one. We got it at 28.87. And we did this one live with you guys right here. Now we'll take a look to see if this can continue to climb. I took some profits today through the 30 and continuing to hold it right now. We still have from 28.87. We got up there really close to the 31 today. We got up to a high of 30.70. We're going to look to see if we start pushing through this high to the left-hand side. As you guys can see, we're now clearing this kind of level right here, which was the resistance around 30.17. That's why I was trying to take some profits into the 30 spot. Next spot, though, can be all the way up here towards 31.34s as we start pushing out of this range and coming back towards the left-hand side, right? That's going to be the next spot for some profit above towards the 31. And then we'll look to see if we can continue with some U.S. Steel. Not a bad trade there for sure. We'll keep an eye out on it to see what happens. Now, there is another swing trade that I have on right now that I'm a little bit fighting myself on, team. Let's go to the new trade of the day, which is going to be on Zoom. I took this one a little bit earlier before when I left. I went to go do a little bit of a lunch break here, and I got in this one at 74.64. So we're talking right here when we started cutting back through the support. Well, not the support, the VWAP, right? So it's right about here on the 64 level. So we're like a slightly below or closer towards this bottoming action, but was looking to see if we could get back above the 76. Of course, Zoom had some decent earnings. It came back all the way down past where kind of it closed yesterday. Closing was 73.75. You guys can see how we gotten below that. Now I'm looking to see, do we bounce back towards these highs, right? Do we bounce back towards the 80, or do we come back through these levels? Support right now around 74.32s. That's where I was kind of trying to risk off of this one. Not going to give it too much of room, but can give it to the 74 here and look to see if we start running the 77, 79, and 80 above. That would be a nice move there. If we could get it to the 80s, that would be about $5 and about 40 cents on the upside outlook. So not too bad if we risk about $1, if that's a top upside outlook. Of course, I always try to stick to the 4-to-1 and the 3-to-1s with these swing style trades. Like always, if you guys are watching and this is your first time on Start Swing Trading, say hello in the chat. Like always, I like to engage with you guys. So let me know, what was your best trade today? I'll try to catch it in the chat. The Crow, eyes on the X pawn for swing trade. Catch it, and we'll take a look. Like always, team, I wish you guys the best on the swing trade approach. I'll take a look at some of the stocks that you guys mentioned. We'll go through that in just a few minutes after we get into the sectors and before we get Christian Fromhertz on. So let's keep going. Pulling the sleeves up, ready to keep going with the show. What else is being mentioned? Dylan out there. Jay Rice, what's up? How we doing? Hammer Saw, France S. Brian, Neat Freak, Wisdom. What's up out there, team? How we doing? Avin Smith. I've been trash. I got SCCO puts. Hey, we'll talk a little bit about that copper play. I did see some copper getting a little bit of a jump. We'll keep an eye out, see what happened there. Jay, you better not go to an AMC theater ever, dude. I agree with you, Jay. Or Easy. Jay, you're not allowed in AMC theaters. All right, let's take a look at some other trades, of course. Keeping an eye out on this Zoom to see what happens a little bit later. But there is one that I'll give you guys an update on, which is Best Buy. And what I did on Best Buy was limit the damage. Today, it was bouncing above our levels. So I actually cut half of the sizing on Best Buy, took a very, very small cut, but I needed to kind of reduce the risk. As we get closer to the earnings, I don't want to keep holding this stock through earnings. I wanted it to already kind of break down towards the 80s already. So with that mentality in my mind, I know that this stock reports Thursday before the open. I don't want to get destroyed in Best Buy on the earnings report. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be looking for that move to happen tomorrow. If by any means we don't get that move through the 82 tomorrow and don't get that cut down, well, I won't be holding it into the earnings, which come Thursday before the open. We'll see what happens there on Best Buy, as I've been calling this one to the short side. Conagra Brands, I'm still in this one, team. We looked like we were trying to get there to 37 even today. This one has just been hanging in there. Could cut me out eventually as we come down here. Really not wanting to see it crack 36 here. Just going to give it the chance to see if it can get back up through the 37. This one's just been really slow move. So at least on the weekly, it doesn't look too bad. A lot of wicks towards that 36. But if we break through that, got to get out of here. And that's on Conagra Brands. We'll see what happens with these stocks. There was another one that we took yesterday, NTR. This is going to be in agricultural inputs. We'll keep an eye out on this one. This is NTR, kind of more of that potash or potash trade. I don't know which way you say it. Sometimes I say it wrong. We'll see what happened. Potash. Will we get that nice little move back up towards the 80s? We'll have to take a look at there. Potash, will it get to that next level? We'll see. This is all on MOS. Also, I talked about how we wanted to see this one continue to lead. It is continuing to lead. And now we'll look to see if CF can get started. CF could also get started, make a move towards 90. I'm going to keep this one on my radar, kind of more for if MOS wants to continue pushing. Maybe we get this to push past towards that 88 and that 90 move, and we can maybe day trade CF off the sympathy on MOS. Of course, this is more kind of swing trading show, so I'll talk about more of that swing trade that I have in NTR. I still haven't gotten my ads in NTR. NTR right now, we have a 77.81. I'm looking for a move back down closer to 77 to add on this one, because I do think that you could have a little bit of a daily pullback where you come back into this range and you hold like kind of 76.20s. So I'm looking to add at the 77s towards 76 like 50s, and then hold off the 76 on that downside action. We'll see what happens there in NTR. All right, my people, I'm swinging the Sandstorm Gold so far. Good week. Hold period, perhaps. What you got, Wisdom? What you got? Potash, right? Potash. It's how it is. I hear so many people mess it up. I even hear experts mess it up sometimes. But hey, to each his own, right? Let's keep going. Let's take a look at what stocks were hot today and what was not. You guys can see technology kind of led us. Actually, basic materials just took a little step up. So basic materials, we just talked about some copper plays. Someone talked about how they had puts on SCCO, and that was one of the leading stocks to the upside. FCX coming back here after a big pullback towards that 40. We'll look to see if these can continue strong. Now, one stock that definitely continued strong that we already took profits was X. That's our winner on the day. But steel, we talked about this yesterday. It wasn't just one name in steel that we were watching. There was multiple names. This is the industry outlook. But take a look at some of these stocks today. One of the biggest leaders in the SPY today, the S&P 500, was Steel Dynamics. And I could see that this had been strong. Nice little push there towards the kind of 127. And we talked about a couple of other names. Cleveland Cliff. Look at that little move, continuing the strength there. Nice little drive towards the 2134s. We also talked about Nucor. Nucor getting a nice little lift there, continuing the push. Got up there towards the 170 on the push. Now pulling back towards around the 168 level. But these steel plays have not done bad at all. We'll keep watch on some of these steel plays to see if they can continue driving higher. But definitely not a bad area in steel right now to keep a watch on. And there's this another one that we don't talk about too often because it trades really light. But this MT looks interesting to me for it to start pushing back here towards these highs, the 32 in play. We'll see what happens on this one. Don't trade it often. Probably never traded MT, but I'm going to put it on my radar to see if it can get a little pop towards that 30.50 tomorrow and maybe catch this one on some pullback. I know CMC is one that's been talked about. TX, this one's been really strong as of late, also continuing the strength there in TX. All right, that's going to be some of the steel plays. I hope you guys were able to nail that. X, 5.88%. Excellent call by Mitch yesterday. NUC, what's NUC? Is this kind of maybe it's a NUE probably that you just probably had a little ticker mistake there. But yeah, not a bad day on that one. That had about a 2.27% day. 2.2 is what you have. There you go. I mean, these steel plays, sometimes they start giving, right? And one thing that I look for in the steel plays is one leader, right? Steel Dynamics have been a pretty good leader. Cleveland Cliff gave some good news. Nucor gave some good news. That's why I'm going after the X. X gonna give it to me. It's gonna give it to me. Zoom finally getting a little bit of a bounce. Can it bounce back there towards the highs? Just keeping an eye out on that one. It's towards 75. Wanted to push towards 76 towards the close. We'll keep an eye out on that. Zooming. All right, we'll take a look also at some other stocks in the S&P 500. We did take a look at basic materials. Let's see if there's anything else in basic materials that we can kind of point to that was really strong on the day. I'm going to take a look at some of these high cap names, see if anything stands out to me. And clearly, I mean, there's some steel plays that were really good. Some gold plays starting to bounce back, like NEM. GOLD was one that I talked about. Would have turned around at the 16. It has turned around at the 16. So if you're looking to play maybe the gold trade, doesn't look too bad. I would look for some pullbacks towards around 1605, 16 on GOLD. We'll see what happens on this one. And if it does get moving, I also like AU to trade off of on gold. And this one would make a big move back. I mean, this has been down gap, but filled in a gap here to the left. I think this is something that I want to keep an eye out on because it's one of those stocks that with this down gap, a lot of people see a stock down gap, and they get scared. They don't want to buy it. So who knows? Maybe this can rip back towards and fill this gap towards 18. That could be even a decent move. You got to know the gap below it, though. Respect that. It did fill in the gap and just touched the bottom there around the 1650s. You can see the closing on this stock that day was 1634, went to a high of 1672. So around 1630s, I'd make sure that we hold support there, but doesn't look too bad. 1650 is where you see a turnaround right now on AU. Money Mitch, any gold ETF? Yeah, there's some gold ETFs, but they don't do that great. You could look at there's a couple. I mean, GOLD is kind of the gold trust if you want to take a look at something a little bit bigger, right? But to tell you the truth, with gold, I try to stick to GOLD and AU. Those work for me. NEM is another one that I would keep in mind just because it's the leader. But you got to find what works for you, I think, in gold. I don't like to go for necessarily ETF there in those golds. There is like the JNUG, right? If you wanted to kind of day trade, if you're trying to day trade, right? That's like kind of the bull gold miners. And then there's also GDX, right? There you go. You guys mentioned the one GDX, right? Maybe you're going for GDX here. One thing that I would point to also on that GDX, there's a gap, right? Gap fill here after this big drive last time, comes back to the gap, could bounce out of this. This doesn't look bad. I'll tell you that overall. I just don't play gold that much, but I'll tell you right now, we got to keep these on the radar. Let's keep it on the radar. Let's set up some alerts here for this to come back through 17 tomorrow, and maybe I can risk off a 16 for AU, make that move to 18 and 19, maybe even 20 for Angelo Gold, or maybe I'm looking at GOLD off that 16 tomorrow. We'll keep an eye out on it. Of course, Crow, that's what it's all about. And I appreciate you guys in the chat like Jay Rice and Alvin Smith helping out. That's what it's all. We're here for, to help each other out, right? We'll keep pushing forward. We'll take a look at some other names here. Gold. If gold is moving, you should also take a look at silver, right? Very similar trades. A lot of the times, PAAS coming back. We'll see what happens on that one. AG, MAG, FSM, EXK. I don't trade these too often. And if I did, I'd probably stick to the top two, PAAS, AG, and probably MAG. I wouldn't get away too far from those silver plays. Coal names staying strong. The only one I really like on the daily chart is AMR. This one definitely strong here, but we'll look to see if we can actually get a rip. I would maybe look at this one as a day trade, but I wouldn't want to swing too much off of this just because it's failed so much up here. But who knows? It could be getting ready for a big breakout. Same thing for BTU. Keep it on your radar. Look at the weekly chart. Look how smooth this pullback has been. Do we start actually getting a drive on this? Keep your eyes on it. We'll look to see if AMR leads and if BTU can follow that move. All right, let's keep going. Any palladium stocks you watch? Divine Harvest mentioning. If you guys want to take a you got PALL, easy helping out here with some palladium ETF here, PALL. So that one's not the worst. That's a palladium ETF. What type of names are in here? I don't really have the names that are in that ETF. So I'm gonna risk on the side that I'm not gonna go and give out too many names here, just because I'm not an expert in it, and I don't want to push too much into something that really I can't give you the most. But you guys can check it out. Easy. If you have any names there for palladium, please just go ahead and drop it in. L Lab trying to make a comeback. Oh, man, this one stopped me out today, team. I was thinking about swing trading this cheap name. And I even had a position built up around the 280s, 290s. It actually came down to 285s with that last ad, but it stopped me out at the 270s today when we just slightly cracked through that. So we'll look to see if this one recovers. It's a nice setup, but of course, this is a cheap name. Be careful out there, team. All right, let's keep going. It's just physical. Palladium left allowed, no shares. Well, hey, that's how it goes sometimes. JPM up $1.40. GS down 12. Not exactly pairing. GS is the one that we were looking for the short. It looked like we got it. We had the opportunity there. We didn't take the shot. But one thing that we clearly saw is this stock kept coming back towards the 340s support, and then now came back there towards the resistance, rejecting the resistance. Now it looks like it wants to come back towards the support. Big breakdown on the day, though, today. A little bit too far now. I'd have to look for pullbacks. But, yes, that broke down. Look for maybe to start seeing that turnaround in JPM. It has been really strong. It actually looking like it wants to push. Bank of America was one that we were looking for, the short outlook after this one did like 12 green days. This has pulled back significantly. We'll look to see if it comes back through that 34. Those are financials, right? Technology not having a bad day there. We started seeing Apple bounce a little bit. Microsoft was fighting and fighting. This is one that I wanted to keep a close eye on because right now I could see, at least from earlier, I was looking at 249.50s that there looked like there's some buying that was coming in here, but now it doesn't look that great. Let's go to the SPY right now. We keep leaking here. Yeah, we keep leaking through the support and through that VWAP, leaked right back towards 397.30s. Google looked really good off of 90 today. It recovered, went up there to kind of 91.30s. Now pulling back to the VWAP. Going to keep these on the radar, right? Tesla. Pulling back fast here, team. Now back towards 206. Are we going to swing trade Tesla? 204 seemed like a really good level today. We cracked through that 204 for just a slight second here on the 15-minute. Nothing closed actually even in underneath 204. Actually, your close here is 204.73s. 204 seemed like support yesterday. We went to it today. Will we come right back to it and bounce off of that level towards the close? That's what I would be looking at. So around like 204, maybe I take a shot on Tesla, but that's where it'd have to be. It'd have to be down below that 204. All right, catching up out there. What's up, Captain Kirk? Rich day, bud. Well, it's a profit. Chicken dinner, baby. Get it. Let's get it. And we're not talking about the cheap stuff. We're going organic. All right, DXY high of the day, dollar pushing higher. That's probably the market also dragging a little bit. We'll see what happens. What time is the Tesla meeting? Well, Tesla's meeting is actually after the bell on the 1st. Usually it's in the afternoon. It's like in the nighttime, right? It's usually like at like 6, 7, even sometimes 8 p.m. I think a lot of that is that they're on the Pacific side, right? They're in California. So just to kind of keep that in mind, right? We'll see what happens. I think this one's actually out of Texas. So last time I was looking into kind of the event, this is out of Texas that they're going to be meeting up. And we'll see what happens. He has been putting out some tweets. Will it get the push? We'll find out. Tesla pulling back here towards that 205. We'll look to see if that can hold. In about 5 minutes, team, we'll get into our interview. So stick around, team. Smash the like. We got a lot more for you guys right here. If you guys have any stock you guys want to think about, go ahead, throw it up. We'll take a look at the setup. Talib saying he's swinging Tesla overnight. I'm looking for that pullback towards the 204s. We'll look to see if we get it here towards the close. But the SPY definitely pulling back after that run towards 399. Just looks like the chop type of day, right? Move up, move down, move up, move down. Will we get out of the range right now on the SPY? Seems like it's up there towards around 401, 394s. Maybe you're like looking at this kind of 396 area, but we'll look to see if we actually start making a move down or not. Of course, there's going to be some earning stocks tonight to keep an eye out for. On the tape tonight, what do we get here? Oh, wrong one there. There you go. That's the right one. We'll take a look, right? I wanted to take a look at Target today, but after the close today, we got Monster, we got Ross, HP, Rivian. Not been talking about Rivian lately. And then tomorrow, before the open, you got Lowe's, Kohl's, Dollar Tree, Wendy's, Jack in the Box. Kohl's might be one that might get hit, right? I've been looking at Macy's coming down fast. Let's take a look at that really quickly. Macy's still kind of dragging. It's a little bit in the green today. We'll look to see what happens on that one. KSS in the red already. Look at his daily outlook, how it's been coming down fast. We'll look to see if maybe it just came down far enough that it's lowered the bar enough on Kohl's, but it doesn't look good here as it gets into their report. And of course, that's going to be coming tomorrow before the open. Ross Stores, ROST, TJX is one definitely to keep your eyes on that. You can see how it's been coming down from the earnings. It tried to bounce back to 78, could take a hit here. We'll look to see if we get a surprise report from Ross and it comes right back up towards the 118s. If it does crack that 110, it could fill this gap on the downside. We'll see what happens there in Ross stores. All right, that's going to do it for our earnings outlook. I'm going to catch maybe a ticker or two more in the chat, and then we'll get to our interview. One stock that we talked about this morning on pre-market prep was, of course, HIMS. And I wanted to just talk about it. The report wasn't bad, right? The guidance forward wasn't bad either. I'll show you guys that at the bottom. You guys can see that revenue outlook. The fiscal year 23 revenue outlook was actually pretty decent. On the low end, it was higher than the estimate. High end, pretty higher, 755 million versus 726.92 million. So HIMS has definitely been one of the strongest stocks today. Interesting setup, push there towards the 1150. We'll look to see if this one can continue to run. Of course, I'm not going to swing trade this all the way up here. I would have to swing trade this on like maybe pullbacks to kind of like the 9 EMA. You can see how that kind of has been holding since the breakout on the January 3rd. We held it on this first pattern here that was to the left around the $8 spot. We broke above that $8 spot, came back towards the 775 area, then pushed higher. Right here, we do the same move. We went to 10. We come back to that around that 9 EMA, find some support, and then curl right back through it. So I'll look to see if we get some pullbacks, but definitely it is a little bit extended. But if you guys have been trading it since maybe down there at the 8s, this is on a nice run, HIMS and HERS Health. All right, that's going to do it for HIMS and HER Health. Like always, team, we'll take a look at some other trades. You guys can keep talking about them in the chat. In a second, we're going to get into our interview. Like always, I want you guys in the chat. Let us know what you guys think about these trades. Like always, we don't have to always have the position on these. When I invite my guest on, I want them to tell me what they like, what they don't like, what setups they see. Of course, these could be trades that they're in. Like always, they'll try to go ahead and inform us. But I want you guys out there to also give an opinion. It's okay to be right or wrong. But go ahead, drop a 1 if you're bullish, or drop a, you could just put bull, or drop a B if you're on that bearish side. Where's the cocaine bears out there? I know that was driving AMC higher. Did AMC keep moving? No, it didn't move today. Came right back down below that 8. It tried. I'll tell you, team, it tried. It was setting up there for a little move. It gave a little bit of a push and quickly right back down. All right, let's get to our interview today. You guys smash the like, and let's go to Christian Fromhertz. Excited to go ahead and bring him on. Welcome back, Christian. How we doing?
Hey, what's going on, Mitch? How you doing?
Doing great, man. Ready to get into the action. I know you keep up with all the relative strength out there. So what do you think, at least in the recent overall action from the market?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, if you look at the indices, they're just kind of bouncing around like a ping pong ball, back and forth. It doesn't look like there's, a ton of conviction. What we've seen recently, and basically since the last economic data that has come out. So, that kind of looks pretty dull in terms of what we're doing in the indices back and forth. But what I'm just kind of tend to look at is what's going on under the hood. I mean, we've seen a lot of big change in breadth once we got past the first week of February, and we've seen a lot more decliners than advancers, right? I mean, that's something that is measured by an advanced decline line, IC summation index, but things have gotten a little bit better the last couple days, or last week, I should say. Even with that PCE deflator number that came in worse than expected, showing that inflation is, definitely still all around us, or more so in different parts. But we haven't really seen like a major move down. It seems like the market's kind of taking strides. And when you look across sectors, what's kind of interesting is you've got things like metals and mining, you've got things like the semis that seem to be holding up, and we're having a good day until about an hour ago. But still, I mean, there's some nice strength out of these groups. And you would think like, okay, if volatility is coming in, first of all, we're kind of just hanging around this 20 level in the VIX 2021. But you go back to last year and what we experienced, when interest rates were going higher as well, and it seemed like things like energy were doing really well, healthcare, big pharma names, healthcare names were doing well. So it doesn't seem like that is repeating as far as now. So as far as what we're getting right now, so it just seems like the indices are kind of waiting for their next big macro data point.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I feel like everybody's even on the hold, and I think a lot of that comes from the PCE report, right? That came in a
Yep.
little bit of a surprise. We finally did get a little bit of a bounce up in inflation, so I think everyone's just going to be all eyes on that next CPI report. And who knows? It could have been maybe a little bit of a blimp in the kind of the numbers there, and all of a sudden we see CPI come right back down on March 14th. But that's still ways from here. That's on the
Yeah.
14th. We got about 2 weeks from there. So I think that still leaves room for a lot of worrying until we get to that number. And of course, we'll look for if we get the 50 basis points or not. That's going to be another question to start thinking about. But let's start taking a look at what areas in the markets you see some strength. Of course, that's one of the number one things that I think you're the best at out there. So let's take a look at what areas do you see some strength right now, Christian?
Thank you, sir. So yeah, I mean, we can kind of start a little bit with the metals and mining.
Mm-hmm.
We could look at a name like STLD. Right now the market's selling off pretty decently. I see that the VIX moving up, but you look at STLD. This is Steel Dynamics, and it's hanging out around the highs of the day. The trend has been pretty solid in here. That Cliffs Resources saw a lot of calls yesterday. That name is also just you look at a couple of these names and you're like, what? You don't really see much volatility coming through there. But so that's a couple names too. Nucor is another one too, which I don't trade Nucor that much these days, but that one looks pretty good. But yeah, if you look at that overall, the whole ETF has been strong. So that's one pocket of strength, and then I would say little pieces of the industrials. Specifically like anything that has to do with auto. I know that you were talking about the trend this morning and on your show this morning in AutoZone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those names. It's a very difficult name to trade.
Yeah.
Up around $2,500. But if you look at the trend and just say, okay, if you start going through some of these names that have either been reporting, I'm long some CPRT. So got a fade. This one actually not holding up quite as well as those steel names, but CPRT is one of those names. Anything to do with auto dealers, auto parts, auto auctions,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be very strong right now. And if you have, I try to also in my trading, things that I'm not familiar with, when I see 4 or 5 different names going up, such as we're seeing like in the auto names, I try to ask around a little bit, and hear if people have recently bought a car or what they noticed at a car dealership. And what I've heard is that it's still very difficult, like to get cars. Like if you're trying to get a new car and you want like customization, like they may not have that car available for you still. So they're still having a problem with chips, it sounds like. So I think that's
Yeah.
why we're. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that we're definitely seeing that lift. And I think Tesla definitely didn't hurt us with that outlook there, at least giving us that drive. I've been seeing a lot of these stocks. And then LI report really wasn't that bad. I don't know if you saw that report from China. That was an actual really decent report for at least hitting their sales. They got hit on it, but starting to
Yeah.
climb back a little bit here. China auto sales are a little bit scary, right? I mean, investing in China EVs is a little bit scary there. But how do you feel about the kind of the legacy automakers like Ford and GM? I know that we talked about some of the auto parts, but I don't feel too confident about those at least.
Right. Yeah, I think these companies are they're having a more difficult time. And I know Tesla gets, there's so much debate about, about Tesla and everything that goes on at Tesla, but it just seems like they've got a little bit of a better edge on producing the cars. I mean, we heard
Yeah.
the other week we heard that Ford was having difficulties with the producing the Ford 150. Like they were halting production again
Hmm.
on it because of batteries. So it seems like it's a struggle. Everybody wants to convert to, again, I'm not an expert in this area, so I just watch the price action and notice things. But it seems like there's a lot of companies that say that, okay, we want to convert to electric, but when they actually try to get the logistics done, it seems like it's not a smooth process as producing conventional cars. But yeah, I haven't really been trading the GM, the Ford, and Tesla's a very noisy stock because there's so much conviction, bulls and bears in that one. I've just been noticing some of these other things, in even like like a PAG, which is Penske, right? These things seem to. I mean, you look at the trends in some of these things. PAG is one of them. Um, so there's like 3 or 4 of these names that are just, they've all had good earnings, similar to what we saw with AutoZone, and have been pretty strong. So there's a couple interesting names. One name that reports after the close that's kind of involved a little bit, I believe, in cars is Ambarella. I'm
Mm.
not going to trade this one because the earnings history isn't great. But this should be interesting. It kind of goes along with that trend of, these cars that seem to be in very high demand. They're gonna still need chips, right? And they're still gonna
Yeah.
need a lot of chips that go into them.
I agree. There's a lot of these plays that we can keep an eye
Interesting
out,
one to
and
watch. Yeah.
I even saw like recently, like a lidar play making moves, like this LAZR type of play, right? I mean,
Yeah, and
I,
I
I
think they
think.
actually the earnings were just released on this. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I know. I didn't see that. Definitely, but I think one of the things is, especially when we start getting like these names in favor, it seems like we start getting the background components type of stocks. Like you mentioned, some auto parts. We mentioned some auto manufacturers, but really, kind of the things behind the things seem to run after we get that nice move in the autos. So just a trend that I'm catching and trying to stay on that pattern, especially when I've noticed that Tesla gets a big run. A lot of the times, then we'll get a run also in maybe even lithium names. So
Right,
keeping
right.
an eye out on trades like that. I don't know how you feel about the lithium names as of late. I know I've been keeping a close eye on some of these, especially as we keep getting some lift into some of them. MP had a good earnings report. Don't know if you keep up with that one. What do you guys think? What do you think about the lithium?
I think this SGML is interesting. This is the Sigma Lithium that Tesla was rumored to have an interest in. There's been some option flow in this one. I mean, you look at it today. It made a really nice gain yesterday. This morning it was kind of hot off the open, but has given back some gains. But this is one I would watch because I think it was on, I want to say, on Friday. Let me just bring up what we saw on this one. It was, so they were going out to June. Their options are very difficult in this name. They
Hmm.
were buying the April 40-50 call spread. So, $10 wide call spread. And they paid about $1.70 for that spread. And again, I don't think you can kind of get in like this, like this institution most likely got in to the options. But again, a lot of times we use option flow for just an indicator saying, hey, somebody's positioning in this thing, thinking that there might be some truth to that rumor. So it kind of makes sense. And I think having, this is where position size really kind of comes into play because, the name has moved from like $30 to 35 on that rumor. And if the rumor, if Tesla comes out and denies the rumor, the stock will probably, fall back to where it was around $30. But if they do announce, I would think that, so whoever bought that 40 to 40-50 strike call spread, might have a feel for that. So you can kind of use that and say, okay, they're looking for, at least a move up to 40, probably around 45 if a deal goes through there. So you can kind of think, that can kind of help you position to say, okay, maybe I want to buy stock rather than options because they're really, really wide. And you can think about, okay, well, down 5 if the deal isn't announced, or if they decide that they're not have no interest in this name, but maybe you get $10 to the upside. So as with any trade, because if that news comes out, you won't be able to stop. You probably won't be able to stop yourself like down $2. Once the news comes out, the stock will probably fall decently. Um, so that's the way to kind of look at something like this. But I just think if you go through the other charts, the ALB, the LTHM, they
Mhm.
kind of look the trend, I like a little bit firmer uptrends.
Yeah.
Like the LTHM is just looks very sideways. Great for playing ranges, which is what we're kind of getting in this market right now. But I think overall for a stock pick, it's very sideways.
Yeah, and there is definitely sideways action a lot on these stocks. Any other kind of areas that you're looking at? So that way we'll get you out of here soon. But always appreciate you coming on, Christian. You guys can keep up with everything that Christian does. Of course, you guys can check out Tribeca Trade Group, TTG. I'll also throw up his Twitter here. And definitely, you guys, whenever you get a chance, check it out. One thing I always say is that you want to be trading with a community that try to trade similar. So if you guys feel that you guys trade similar to the kind of the styles that you see from Christian, definitely reach out. I'm sure he'll go ahead and help you, let you guys know what style he really likes, and you guys can be part of Tribeca Trading Group yourself. Any other areas you're looking at, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, we could. Thank you very much, by the way.
Of
We could
course.
look at a couple of the semi charts if you like. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that these are pretty interesting. There was one that was I thought was uh, interesting today. I think it was just reported yesterday. So this is PI. So this is a little bit different than your normal, your very popular semi names that everybody looks at, like the Nvidia and the
Hmm.
AMD. This one, there's two insiders, I believe, that bought more shares in this name. So it's one of those names again that's just it's been trending in the right direction. You've got some consolidation there for the last month. Really kind of whippy price action, but I'm kind of interested to see if it resolves. In the direction that it's going, which is up. And I do own this. I own this in one of my portfolios. Again, it's a hard one to kind of trade. Today kind of provided a nice range. It was up 4%, but it's one of those names with the right position size. You can kind of manage through that whippy price action. And then there's another one that got a nice upgrade this morning, which by Loop Capital. This is ACLS. This is another one of these smaller semiconductor names that has just been absolutely like
Woo-hoo.
dynamite.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking for charts like this, like the last couple that you kind of look at and you say, geez, the indices are going back and forth, choppy, but some of these names, the steel names, the semis, a couple other areas of the market. Four had a real nice earnings report. Builder had a real nice earnings report, BLDR. So I mean, not that I want to be in like the the home builders, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is just doing something that's is showing that there's still demand out there for some type of construction that's going on right now in the market.
Yeah.
So again, very like different. You think, oh geez, interest rates are going higher. Like geez, I don't want to be in any of these builders because they're very vulnerable to interest rates. But some of these names are just they're killing their earnings reports, in a good way.
Definitely. And I think that we just got to try to sometimes just find some of the trends, right? I think that's what you do often is that sometimes even if you do see kind of an area, you don't try to maybe make that prediction of the industry, right? You're more just, hey, price action's telling me that they like this one. And especially on a day when the market's having a tough day and you're seeing a stock just completely strong against the market. Well, I mean, maybe we can just try to catch and ride that wave, right?
Sure. Last ticker symbol. This is one that I added today. This is ATKR. This is at core. So again, a lot of the theme that you'll see me look at in terms of swing trades is names that had strong earnings, and then basically, what I look for after a name has had good earnings, because it's really tough when they gap and go like that.
Yeah.
I kind of just wait and watch. And I don't know if you have do you have the 20-day moving average on your chart? I think
Not the 20. I have a 9 there on there, but
okay.
I can make it. I can make it really
No,
quickly.
it's fine. But the 20-day moving average is just, you can imagine it's just a little bit lower. But
Yeah.
what I like to see is for these names that have had a nice breakout, is for them to just kind of digest, the volume to kind of die down in them, because sometimes there's a little bit of profit taking after a gap up like that. And I like to see the 20-day average kind of catch up with the price action. And then once the price kind of comes into the 20-day moving average, I want to see it basically hold in there and then, do some type of, hold and bounce. So we're
Hmm.
starting to see that with this name. Again, the chart looks much different than the overall market. And it looks like it's trying to resolve to the upside. So I started a position today in this one as a swing trade.
Yeah, I see a lot of times you're looking at like kind of these flag patterns, or you can
Yeah.
call them, descending wedges or triangles. Is that seems like more up your alley? Those are the type of patterns you're common with, Christian.
For now, I mean, and again, we just had a lot of names that reported earnings
Hmm.
between, the last 2, 3 weeks. So, once that happens, I do look for names and I compile a list of names that really had good price action, either a gap up or just strong earnings in general. And then I just kind of, wait and watch for these things to kind of digest, because a lot of times, what I tend to look for is new leadership. What areas of the market are going to actually step up, especially after the year that we had last year. Oftentimes the past leaders aren't going to be the new leaders. So it takes some time to kind of figure that out, but the price action tells you a lot what you need to know.
Awesome. Like always, we'll have you back on. Christian Fromhertz just threw up there the Tribeca Trade Group services. If you guys want to check it out, go ahead and do so. We'll have you back on, Christian. Have a good day.
Awesome. Have a great day, Mitch. Thanks.
Take care. All right, there you guys go. I'm always enjoying to have Christian Fromhertz on. He brought different type of stocks, and you can see here, like sometimes he says, well, I just see the auto parts moving, and I start seeing different names kind of lining up. Start looking into the industry, right? What's strong in the industry? What's going kind of with the market? What's going against it and staying strong? Well, there you guys see different names there mentioned, but always appreciate Christian Fromhertz bringing in some different stocks there. You guys keep up with him on Twitter. Let's get back to the action. We got a couple of minutes left, 10 minutes, team. We'll take a little bit of some ticker time. If you guys got a ticker, throw it up. Mad Money, don't worry. We got you. You want to take a look at Rivian? Let's go. Let's take a look at Rivian. Their expected earnings. Let's take a look here. They're going to come out tonight. I don't think I'm going to take a trade on this one, but I'll talk a little bit about it. Let's take a look here. Their earnings are after the bell. The call is at 5 p.m. Just to state that. And it looks like their estimated earnings EPS is expected to go down to $1.94 at a loss. So it's a loss of $1.94. Last one was a loss of $1.82. So we'll look to see if that kind of beats there. Their revenues are expected to climb a little bit. This is where we got to watch to see if they miss. Their revenues are expected to climb from last quarter at 364 million now to 536 million. We'll look to see if they're able to hit that number. That's going to be the revenue outlook here. Let's go to the daily chart. Daily chart, you can see resistance at 21, clear as day. Now, support is a little bit closer and a little bit harder to determine. I would say that's down there towards 16. And then if you want slightly above towards 17, you're seeing some support. Hold on. We'll look to see if we get above 21 or below 16. I do like Rivian overall for a long-term approach. The only question is, where do we get it in what price? I think this could eventually get down there to 15, maybe even $10. If it does get down there towards 15, $10, I'm going to take a shot on Rivian in the long-term account. But right now, I'm not swinging this into the earnings because it's in the middle of nowhere in my eyes. It's in the middle of this chart. It's about $2.30 up, and down, it's about $2.68. So kind of in the middle. And I feel like I'd be a pig if I'd be going after this right here. So we'll see what happens there. Going to the Zoom now as this is closing in here. It's not looking the best on the close here. So what we're going to do here is just limit the damage for any downside action. Wanted to see if Zoom could at least get to 76, 77 today on the pop. It's pulling back here close to my entry. I'm still in the green, but I'm just going to take a little bit off of this because it's a little bit too big of a position for me if I want to hold this overnight. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a little bit of the profit there, leave half of it here to see if Zoom can hold on and get back up there towards the 80s tomorrow. We'll find out. It wasn't a bad report, but we'll look to see if they kind of buy it back. All right, let's get to the other stocks. Best Buy just hanging out there, went through the 83s. We'll look for 82s tomorrow. X remaining strong, almost got to the 31s today, 30.83. So we'll look to see if that can get there tomorrow. Not a bad move there in X. Catching some stocks in the chat. Let's go. Let's go. What you guys got out there? All right. Let's take a look there. Lumen, L-U-M-N. All right. Lumen Technologies. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Daily chart down to 340s. You need to see some type of reversal action before I want to swing this. This just looks like it's falling. It's a falling knife right now, and I need to see it turn around. Let's talk more MP. That's a big beat. Ross Gerber, a big investor in MP, said that was not expected. So I wonder why such a big beat. Well, it's definitely one that I like. I do like the moving averages. It's slightly above. It's holding. What I like about MP is that it does nice moves off the monthly support. We did crack through the support for a second there towards kind of that 28 spot. Now we're trying to recover back there towards the 40s. It's not a bad stock. And I know that a lot of people hate SPACs, but I'll let you know, MP was a SPAC and has continued to hang on here. So we'll look to see if this can recover, especially if it can start kind of holding these pullbacks. You can see how we cracked out of this and then held the pullback there. I like this, especially down there towards like maybe 34.50s tomorrow. I'll take a look to see if I can get that dip there. You can see how we went close to 34.50s today. I don't mind it on a swing. I just need to get it at the right levels. We'll look to see if we pull back there on MP Materials. Flush close coming, says Captain Kirk. We'll see. SPY is hanging in there, starting to bounce a little bit. Wouldn't you know it? Right off that 397 earlier where we recovered. The chop continues. Be careful in this market. It's definitely a choppy one. All right, catching up out there after hours market sells off, said Captain Kirk. We'll have to find out. 1.5 billion to the sell side, says Walter. We'll take a look at some of the stocks that reported today. How did Target end up? I wanted to take a look. We've been talking about swinging Target for a while. They did have their report. They didn't get crushed today. That's a good sign there, I feel like. I'm going to keep an eye out on Target. I know that Costco's report might turn this around. Costco does report later in the week. I'm going to keep an eye out on Target. If we can get back there, let's say towards the 175 or 170, start climbing there. I like this move, but it needs to hold on here on Target. They did give some warning that didn't look that great. I'll tell you right now, the earnings report wasn't great in Target, but I just feel like it can fill the gap to the upside. All right, let's keep going. What else is being brought up there? McDonald's got beef with Cardi B. Well, who knows? They got the she's gonna have to go get the Whopper. Big Mac here looking like it's just hanging on. Weekly chart on McDonald's has it holding on here. We'll look to see if it can hold on to 260s. If it hangs on the 260s, it could just come right back up there towards the 270s, make that move to 280s. Don't expect this crushing down by any means, but also I'm not the biggest fan of trading McDonald's. It doesn't move much, but it stays on the upward trend, right? I mean, at the overall move, McDonald's have continued to grow and grow, right? I mean, it's up about 400% since 2009 and always like kind of having good years, right? Even when it has a bad year, it comes back the next one. So keep watch on that. McDonald's still staying in the strength, and we'll see what happens there. AMC popcorn sale after the close. We'll see what happens there. That's not the best move, right? How's Tesla's close? Fighting here. Trying to come back there. It went towards around 205, so not too bad. We didn't get to the 204 spot, that we were looking at maybe to take a little bit of a swing. Good place for channel or sell Best Buy. We'll see what happens there, man. It's going to be a tough one. Tomorrow is going to tell me all about that. NIO earnings in the morning, starting to get a little bit of a drive towards the close here. Doesn't look too bad. LI did really good in their earnings report. So we'll look to see how NIO reacts tomorrow. All right, the dogs are out there. They're barking. I don't know if you hear them in the background, but we're going to see some stocks move, of course, after the bell. Keep your eyes on these earnings stocks, see how they react. And, of course, we'll take a look at some of our swings to see how they move. Twilio had a big insider buy, so if you want to take a look at one stock that potentially could get that next lift here, I kind of like this move for Twilio. You're talking an internet content company here. It did pull back here towards these levels. Now, today, some people were watching this. It did get the spike. It held around 66. So 66 pullback level doesn't look too bad. We'll look to see if it takes off through 69. Big insider buy. It was the CEO, and he bought 158,081 shares at 63.26. Not too bad there. Big win on Twilio. All right, we'll see what happens on that one. Can it continue to push? Is this not a trading platform anymore? I'm lost. No. What's up? What's up out there? Hodl Strategy. What are you looking at, man? All right. Yeah, but some franchise owners ain't doing the promo. What promo? What are you guys looking at? All right. Let's keep going. TZA climbing. TZA. Small cap bear. I've never traded this one. Man, you guys know some ones that I even don't know. TZA, small cap bear, 3X. Man, Captain, you're going out there. Can't blame you, though. Mara. We'll get that through. Sam, you'll be the last one. I got you, my friend. Let's take a look at Mara. We'll take a look to see if it climbs back there through the highs. Of course, one thing to keep in mind is when Mara made this move, what was happening in the market overall? The market was climbing, right? As the market started retracing, so did Mara. So keep in mind that the market has high correlation right now with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes higher, a lot of times the market goes higher, and then you see some lag effect in Mara. But if the market's going to come down, and if Bitcoin's going to come down, well, pay attention, because this could be right back down to 573s and $5. Now, if you push higher through towards 780s, you have some resistance towards the 8. But if you can clear that, you can start pushing back there towards 862 and 9. We'll see what happens on this stock. It's going to be a lot depending on the overall market. We crashed through 390s, and I could see this Mara right back down there towards kind of 573s. Always keep in mind where the support is and where the stock could go. Smash the like, you know it, team. Mitch, you should know TZA. It's IWM, Bear, TNA. It's bull levered. Yeah, maybe I should know it. I don't trade too many small cap names, though. Let's just be honest. Like, you guys saw me trade LLAB, but I don't trade too many small cap names. And I try to stay away from them. I'm more of a mid cap, big cap trader, right? I trade stocks like, let's say Microsoft, right? We'll see what happens on this one. This is reclaiming here the 240, 249.50 area. That's where I liked it. But that's enough. There's the bell. It's 4 o'clock. That's going to do it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed all the action that we do right here on Benzinga. Let me know what you want to see more or less of right here on this show. I want to keep pushing the limits, and we do have some great guests this week. Want to keep you guys informed what's going to come up next this week. Later, tomorrow, we have, of course, Option Mike going to be joining us. So come on over, join us with Option Mike. That's going to be on Wednesday. We got Anne-Marie Band that's coming on Thursday. Friday, we got Michael Noss, CMT. A lot of going on right here on, of course, Start Swing Trading. So we'll see you next time, team. Smash the like. Keep it going right here. We'll bring you now over to Cannabis Insider. That's starting up next. Don't go anywhere, team. Check out some Cannabis Insider talk. That's starting up right now.